Hey everyone, welcome to Echoes Through Pines, the hunt for the big man. I'm Cole, and today we're about to take a deep dive into the world of Sasquatch. But not just any Sasquatch. We're talking about the indigenous perspectives, the ancient stories, and the mysteries still around this creature to this day. And I'm joined by Ollie, who knows a thing or two about this. How's it going, Ollie?
Having me, Cole. I'm excited to explore this with you. Sasquatch are such a fascinating creature. There's so much more to it than just usual cryptid stories. For indigenous cultures, especially here in BC, Sasquatch is more than a mystical beast. It's a symbol of the spiritual landscape.
That's right, and it's not just a phenomenon. The first recorded encounters in British Columbia goes back to the 1800s, but these stories have been passed down through generations long before that, right?
Exactly. Indigenous cultures have been sharing stories of Sasquatch for centuries. Some may even say thousands of years. For many indigenous groups, Sasquatch roams the forest of the coast mountains, often seen as a protector of the land and not just a mystical beast that's out to get you. These encounters weren't even scary, but spiritual connections.
So there's this deeper reverence for Sasquatch in these cultures, not just fear like we often see in Western stories.
That's right. In fact, the Western concept of Sasquatch is different than what many indigenous groups believe. While Sasquatch are often portrayed as in Western media as mysterious, dangerous creature, indigenous perspectives tend to view it as a spiritual being. It's represented almost like a guardian. So when we're talking about sightings, they're not necessarily seen as something to be feared, but rather to be acknowledged and understood.
That's fascinating. It sounds like each tribe has its own version of Sasquatch.
Oh, definitely. Every tribe has its own interpretation, understanding. For example, the Tlingit people believe the Sasquatch is part of the spirit world and move between realms. The Nuu people view it as a protector of the forest, ensuring the balance of nature. So while descriptions vary, some say the Sasquatch is more human-like, others say it's more animalistic. The key theme is it's always a deep connection to the land and is quite important to the people. Now a word from our sponsors.
Does your dog have the wild spirit of a Sasquatch? Then treat them to Sasquatch Dog Treats, the snack made for adventure-loving pups. Packed with all natural, high-quality ingredients, Sasquatch Dog Treats give your furry friend the energy they need for their next wild expedition. Whether exploring trails or lounging at home, Sasquatch Dog Treats provide the perfect reward. Available in a variety of flavors, they're perfect for pups of all sizes and breeds. Sasquatch Dog Treats, because your dog deserves the best. Find them at your local pet store or visit SasquatchDogTreats.com.
And we're back. So Ollie, now that we've got a sense of the spiritual and cultural significance of Sasquatch, let's talk about sightings. Where are most Sasquatch encounters reported? Is there a particular place that stands out?
Yeah, sure, Cole. The Pacific Northwest is definitely a hotbed of Sasquatch sightings, especially in areas of British Columbia, Northern California, and the Cascades. But it's not just geography that makes it significant. The land here has a spiritual weight for many indigenous groups. These mountains forests are sacred, so it makes sense that the Sasquatch would be tied to such spirituality rich environment. And these encounters tend to happen in more remote places where natural world feels ancient and untouched.
Right. And it seems like even with all our technology today, Google Earth, high-tech cameras, we still haven't captured Sasquatch on film. Why is that?
It's a great question, Cole. Some people believe that the Sasquatch has a heightened sense of awareness, almost like it knows when it's being watched. Some indigenous stories, Sasquatch is said to have spiritual powers, which could explain why it avoids capture. It also has a possibility that it moves in ways that our modern technology just can't track. Plus, as we've discussed, indigenous perspective adds an extra layer. Sasquatch is a being that exists outside convention of understanding, so maybe why it continues to evade detection.
That's so true, but let's talk about the encounters we do know about. There's this one story about a man who couldn't pull the trigger when he saw Sasquatch face to face. What do you think was going on there?
For sure, Cole. One of this examples is a man was out on a fishing trip. From one of the close encounters I've witnessed, he was out on a fishing trip with his sister, and they were in the woods, and they heard a ruffling in the bushes. It turned out to be a Sasquatch, and they had to escape. But as he was trying to leave, he was going to shoot the Sasquatch Oh no, sorry, his captain was going to shoot the Sasquatch, but the man told the captain not to shoot him because of the significant spiritual weight that the Sasquatch holds. Because as the indigenous people, from what I've heard, when they were younger, they were told that they were not allowed to shoot the Sasquatch or talk to it because otherwise it would come and get them while they were sleeping.
That makes a lot of sense. It's a humbling experience. So in contrast to Western fears of Sasquatch, how do indigenous cultures react when they have a sighting?
Sure, indigenous groups don't view sightings as something to be afraid of. In fact, they often see it as a sign of the land's health. If someone encounters a Sasquatch, it could mean that the spirits are watching over the area. There are ceremonies that may take place to honor the encounter rather than rush to tell people to be scared. For Westerners, though, it's more about proof and often fear. For indigenous people, it's much more of a relevant approach, and they kind of...
I love that perspective. Now, Ollie, if someone wanted to become a Sasquatch expert, what would the path look like?
That's a great question, Cole. So for the people wondering at home, it was definitely more than just reading the books and studying sightings. Becoming a Sasquatch expert, in the truest sense, involves a deep connection with the land and learning from indigenous voices, understanding their oral histories, and living in harmony with nature. There's a spiritual and environmental compound to it. These experts, like myself, have spent many years training in the forest, learning the subtle signs of nature, and most importantly, they respect the land and its stories. It's a lifelong commitment, but it also does involve looking into the sightings and the stories of the encounters.
Wow, that's incredibly holistic. And it's crazy that with all of our advances in technology, we still haven't gotten clear proof of Sasquatch's existence. But some people believe they have had encounters. There are even stories of people being abducted by Sasquatch. What's your take on that?
Yes, Cole. There's certainly many strange stories. Some people, they've been taken, and there have been many of these theories. One thought is that the Sasquatch takes people who don't respect the forest, like I talked about earlier, kind of like a guardian figure. In some ways, these stories may serve as a warning in indigenous cultures that there's often a belief that there's more to the land and spirit world than we can understand. So the abductions might not be sinister as they sound, but are definitely mysterious.
And a word from our sponsors.
Are you tired of smelling like regret and campfire? Then upgrade your pits with Squatch Stick, the only deodorant inspired by Bigfoot himself. It's all natural, forest fresh, and strong enough to keep you from being smelled 3 countries away. Smell like a legend, not a lost hiker. Get Squatch Stick today at squatchthatstank.com. Use code STANKYLEGEND for 10% off. Squatch Stick. Stay fresh. Stay fuzzy.
Yeah, that adds a whole new layer to the mystery. And we can't forget the smell. I've heard it's quite distinct. What's it like?
Oh yeah, it's said to be strong, musty, like wet fur mixed with decaying vegetation. It's a scent that stays with people long after the encounter. It's one of the things that they remember the most about their encounters. They describe this smell as one of the key indicators. So if they have future encounters, they know what to look out for.
Yikes, that's definitely one way to know you've been in Sasquatch territory. Finally, if someone's hiking in Sasquatch country, how should they protect themselves?
Definitely, as indigenous parents have told their kids for generations, respect the land first and foremost. Sasquatch is often considered a guardian, so treating the forest and its creatures like within reverence is key. If you encounter Sasquatch, remain calm, don't approach it, and don't make sudden movements. And don't try and capture it on film, and always hike in groups if possible. It's the most important thing to understand that you're in a space full of ancient history, wisdom, and act accordingly.
Great advice, Ollie. This has been an incredible conversation. Thanks for joining me today.
Thanks for having me, Cole. Until next time, keep your eyes on the pines and your head up just in case the big man is just around the corner.